You're listening to Xsgaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Scullion and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. This is episode 75, and we're recording this on the 8th of November. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Scullion, and joined with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
25 from 100. Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you didn't have too much Halloween candy left over, that you had to eat it all up and get sick on it. Or if you did have some left over, hopefully it was the good kind. All I had left was the bad, and that's okay.
I saw that on Facebook. You had like the bowl of the red, the orange and the black little candies, the peanut butter
things.
Yeah.
Dude, my wife bought those for me because I always talk about wanting to give out, bad candy to the kids that are too old and with bad costumes. But the thing was, there was all the kids, honestly, even the older kids with bad costumes were so damn polite and like nice and courteous that I didn't really give out too many of those until I started running out, and then I'd give them like a good and a bad. But I mean, the kids were impressive, man. I see some cool outfits, and they were just so nice. I mean, it was shocking. It really was. So I guess the youth of today is not doing as bad as we might have thought.
That's really cool. Yeah, my nephew went trick-or-treating for the first time this year, and it was so funny. He like busted in my room after he was done. He came in with this, his bowl, and it was full of candy. He was like, "Look, I got candy," and I'm like, "That's awesome. Can I have some?" He's like, "No," and turned around and just walked away. But yeah, it was a good Halloween. I did a lot of gaming actually, and I'm probably getting into that towards the end of the episode when we talk about games we've been playing recently. But yeah, me and Amanda did a lot of share playing, and we played a lot of we started off playing some horror kind of games, and then it ended up with just a bunch of randomness. But overall, it was a really good, relaxing Halloween.
And see, I stayed on the front porch, and I drank my beer. Like I said, I drink it from a glass because I don't know. I feel it's more proper to do. And I did manage to catch gaps in between the herds of children and run inside for like a bathroom break, grab another beer. But man, we give out a lot. We have like a haunted house down the street.
Oh wow!
That some of our neighbors put up. It's really one of the best like house haunts that I've seen, and I know that they alone just had about, I want to say it was like 1,500 people go through there because they have a clicker that keep count. About 1,500, 12 to 1,500 that just went through there. Wow. So it was probably double that of people that went trick-or-treating, because a lot don't, a lot of kids are scared, and some people, they don't want to go down there. So yeah, the streets were filled, and then it was just like, you do that, it's pretty heavy for, it seems like an hour or two, and then it's just dead, and you go inside.
Wow. Well, I wanted to start the episode, and I hate to start an episode like this, but I thought it was kind of appropriate because, the last episode was the Halloween special, and, we mentioned Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Atari game. Was not that great of a game, but some tragic news had happened last night, actually. Garner Hansen, the original Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, dies at 68. I woke up and read that, and then it really, I was like, man, I got to mention this on the podcast because, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was such an iconic horror movie. And, what I like about, because I was reading about him, because, I'll admit I didn't know that much about him other than he played Leatherface, that apparently he did a lot of other stuff in his life as well. He was like a magazine editor. He was in some other movies. He wrote screenplays. So it was kind of nice that, he had a life outside of just being the wielding chainsaw maniac,
Yeah, definitely. He was very big, prolific, in the horror scene. Did lots of conventions. I have lots of friends, that got to meet him. And, you tend to think most people are, at least try or make an attempt to be nice at the conventions. But everyone I know that ran into him said he seemed like a genuinely cool dude. I'm not sure of his age. Seemed like he had a pretty long, good life and was well loved by many horror fans and, his family, and I'm sure just people that knew him in life. Lots of cool stuff. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There was one called I give these two mixed up. There's Campfire Stories and Campfire Tales.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the storyteller in one of those, and it's one of my favorites. It's an anthology, probably from the late 80s, mid 90s. Just really cool though. I liked him. He had the gray hair, as he got older, so he could play like a cool grandpa guy. But yeah, definitely long, awesome career, and he will be missed.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have mentioned that. But in gaming news, we've had a couple of things happen this week. I think that some of you guys that are listening remember the Nintendo PlayStation that was revealed a couple months ago that these people had Surface, and it was a big, debacle. Some people were saying it was legit, because of the backstory of course, Sony at first was partnered with Nintendo making a CD add-on called the Super CD that eventually turned into the Sony PlayStation. So a lot of people were saying it was legit. Some people said that it wasn't because the main thing is we didn't actually see it work. So, I mean, some people were like, man, maybe this was just some elaborate hoax. Well, it is actually true. Nintendo's PlayStation shown off actually powers up, and I'm reading an article right now. It says, when images of the fabled Nintendo PlayStation console made the rounds over the summer, not everyone believed that the prototype console was actually real, but instead an elaborate hoax. It was no longer, it seemed that way, as the ultra-rare console created as a part of a failed partnership between Nintendo and Sony 25 years ago. Now I'm going to skip a little bit here. The man who found the console was actually Dan Diebold. Along with his father Terry, they brought the system to the Retro Hong Kong Expo recently to show it off, and Nintendo Life reports images from the events have been revealed and posted, confirming that the system is operational. So it's a prototype and it works. And they were actually offered $45,000 for the console, but they said they actually wanted to donate to a museum someday. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd heard they weren't interested in selling it, at least at the time being, and then wanting to give it to a museum at some point. It's definitely cool because it is a really rare look back at history and what could have happened and what did happen because of that. I know one of the guys that even worked on it was kind of leery to comment on if it was real or not. And, I'd read about that too. It, powered on. They even got to play some Super Nintendo games on it.
Yeah.
The disc part was not working, but I do know that they were actually gonna try, to get some people together and see if it's possible to get it working, see if it might play any kind of PlayStation game at all, or see exactly, what's going on. But I know they really thought it was cool that they was like, hey, we got to play it. They got to play Super Nintendo games on this mythical system that actually exists, and 45 grand, that's a lot, but this is a really rare thing that nobody's ever seen before. So it's like, I could see prices going up. And, maybe it is just a priceless thing that would be best served to be in a museum, I think.
Yeah, definitely, because it's a huge piece of history. And what's really funny is I watched a video from this article, and, one of the guys had, found the console because he worked for Sony Interactive Entertainment. And apparently the branch they were working for was going bankrupt and had some auctions. And the guy actually bought the console back in 2009 for $75.
Yeah, he got way more stuff than he actually thought. I remember him saying he had to make 2 carloads to get everything home, and when he got it, they're like, here, it's all yours. And he's like, all of it? And they're like, yeah. And it was just in one of those boxes, just shut up and forgotten about and lost away in this room.
Yeah, I'm glad it surfaced, though. I'm glad that, and I really do hope it gets put in some sort of video game museum because, I mean, like I said earlier, it's a big part of history, and we wouldn't have the Sony PlayStation if it wasn't for Nintendo and Sony's debacle. It was kind of like a diamond in the rough. I would have loved to see a Super CD for the Super Nintendo, but I love the PlayStation. So
it did. It's 2 varied parts. I know I've said before, like Nintendo really brought life back into the gaming market, and then Sony, I feel, really just kind of revolutionized it. So it was two things just to see, what could have been and what did come out of that. Either way, the way it did turn out, I think, we get the best of both worlds.
Definitely. Now, Tuesday, from recording this, a very anticipated game is going to be coming out. We're talking about Fallout 4, of course. Now, I believe Friday, the new Call of Duty came out, and earlier this week, Halo 5 came out. So there's been a lot of heavy hitters coming out as of late, but Fallout 4 is definitely one of the most anticipated titles. And I remember before we started recording, James, that we were talking about how time's just been kind of flying by. I feel like it was like 2 weeks ago that we had E3 and they revealed Fallout 4, and it's like, holy shit, it's already coming out now. It's crazy.
It does. Just the way the time, it goes so quickly, whether it's Halloween's already been, a week or so ago. I had friends come into town, and it's been like 2 or 3 weeks, and it just kind of feels like they were just here. The time is just, wow, it's so quick. And those games that you mentioned, that's just like a huge, huge week. Like, I'd like to see the figures of like how much, money was made, how many games were sold, because those are gigantic titles. Those are ones that we got our little niche ones like that, but these are ones that a lot of people play. That sometimes that's all they play, or, some of the people that play everything. So many people are getting those games.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, I know people that are actually going to be taking their vacation. They're taking their vacation for Fallout 4, but one of the things that really kind of sucks about Fallout 4 right now is, of course, the Pip-Boy edition that comes with the wearable Pip-Boy that you can put your cell phone in to download the new Pip-Boy app for Fallout 4. Unfortunately, some people in Europe from the company called Game, and I've heard of Game from some of our friends over the pond. I believe, Game's a lot like another version of GameStop. It's not GameStop, but it's like their contender. But Game apparently says it will replace canceled Fallout 4 Pip-Boy Edition pre-orders. Apparently they had some problems with the PayPal accounts and banks not allowing payments to go through, so a lot of people were left in the dark, and people were freaking out because they weren't going to get their Pip-Boy Special Edition. But rest assured, your Fallout 4 Pip-Boy Edition is safe. What a good... it actually just got updated, because when I was reading it last night, it was very uncertain, but I'm glad that it had a happy ending to it.
No, it's definitely good when things like that happen. Hey, things mess up, but as long as they're able to fix it, I'm sure some people will still be angry about it. But at the end of the day, if you get what you wanted, I don't think it's so bad. At least they got it fixed out. I guess is that like the big special edition with Fallout?
Yeah. Actually, I had it pre-ordered, but I had to cancel it Friday just due to finances. And I was kind of sad about it. I'm like, damn, I'm not going to get the Pip-Boy. But at the same time, hopefully someone scooped it up that's a big Fallout 4 fan, and they can enjoy it. But I'm still going to get the game regardless. But yeah, it's really cool. It's, the little wristband thing that they wear that has like all the little options and stuff like it. It looks really awesome.
Yeah, I've been seeing the little Pip-Boy character. I'm pretty Fallout naive. I've never played one. I've been thinking about it, just seeing all the hype around this one. What do you think is like Fallout 3? Would that just be a good one to play?
Yeah, I think Fallout 3 would be good to play because it's more based off of the style of Fallout 4 New Vegas, because surprisingly enough, Fallout 1 and 2 were completely different games. They were more of a top-down RPG. And it was very, very based off of another game called Wasteland. But what had happened was the company had belly flopped. Bethesda bought the rights to Fallout 3, and they made it into like a first-person / third-person action RPG, and it's a little bit more of what we expect it to be now. I think some people that have never played Fallout, I always try to compare it to Elder Scrolls. It's very similar to Elder Scrolls, except it's got more of the steampunk nuclear holocaust kind of feel to it, as opposed to dragons and magic.
Okay. Yeah, I see, because I know those are, it's quite cheap to get the older ones, and I was thinking of giving 3 just a try out and check and see if it's up my alley.
Yeah, you should. I mean, I enjoyed Fallout 3. Now, I'll say I'm not a Fallout diehard. I mean, of course, some of these people, like I said, are taking vacation time to play Fallout 4. I mean, this is their most anticipated game in the last 5 years. But I thought it was really fun, and I'm looking forward to Fallout 4. I like all the new options and creative stuff that they're doing. I mean, that's what makes this game so much fun, is it's so immersive, and there's the main story that you can play, but at the same time, there's so much stuff that you can play as well that it becomes your own game without it being like an online MMO kind of thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. No, we'll check that out. I've always been interested in it. Just, a lot of these titles that are these, really big sellers, I like to see, what's the fuss all about. And, I've played Halos, not really my thing. Call of Duty, same way. They can be great games, and I'm glad people, appreciate them and play them. And hey, I think that's pretty cool, man. If you want to take a vacation and sit there and play the game like you're going to spend a lot of time, man, I say more power to you.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of vacation, the holidays are coming up. Halloween's over, so everyone's already bracing for Christmas. But of course, there is Black Friday, and I actually got some GameStop Black Friday leaks that's been sprouting up online. And it said that showing off all 319 items featured in the sale, which begins November 27th. One of the best deals includes a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One for $300 bundle, which is really, really cool. Definitely awesome. They got some door busters as well that come with, pop figures. I'm looking at, let's see, Assassin's Creed. It looks like that's going to be discounted. The Witcher 3 is going to be $30.
That's been I've heard a lot of people talking about that game.
Yeah, every time I go into GameStop, there's this one girl that's always working like Friday mornings when I go in there to pick up a game, and she's always playing Witcher 3, and she always tries to sell it to me. Like I'm going in there to buy like some amiibos or something like that. She was like, "You want to pre-order anything?" I was like, "I already got all my stuff pre-ordered," and she's like, "You need to play Witcher 3." But yeah,
this could be the time, man. At $30, that's a pretty good price. And like I said, the people I've seen, comment on it are ones that sometimes I don't see comment the most on games. So I notice when they do talk about one they're playing. And this is one that I've seen, not the normal game posters that have popped up and have been talking about this.
Yeah, I've heard it has a lot of that same feeling like Skyrim and stuff like that. That whole open world exploration, and I'll be honest. Those games are a lot of fun to me, but at the same time, they intimidate the fuck out of me because I don't have a whole lot of time to play games sometimes, and I'm just like, man, sometimes I don't want to get too lost or. I don't want to be overwhelmed with everything going on.
That's how it is for me. It's definitely when I first picked up Skyrim, and I'd say, to everybody, I think this game's great. And it was one I remember I traded in and I got Heavy Rain. I paid $60, I probably got $30. I bought, the special edition Heavy Rain for $30. And in turn, I was glad because I would have paid $60 for that. I really enjoyed that game. But Skyrim to me, as soon as I started, I was like, why did I get this? It's like, it's too much. It's like you said, intimidation, that's a good word, overwhelming. To some of us, that's how it feels with those games because there is so much you can do. And on the one hand, that's a great thing when you have that openness and ability to, like you said, make it your own game, make your own character, play it how you want, explore where you want to go. But some of us need stuff a little bit more streamlined with a little bit less going on.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I still put like 100 hours into Skyrim. Like I loved it so much, and that's what I'm looking forward to Fallout 4. I'm hoping I have a lot more time to play Fallout 4, than as opposed to some of the games I've been playing in the past because I've just been so freaking busy. I have Chibi Robo Zip Lash for the 3DS that's still shrink wrapped. I haven't played it yet. I'll admit I bought it for the amiibo and the fact that I love Chibi Robo, but I do want to play the game, so I'm probably going to crack the seal probably after this episode and at least try it out.
I've got NES remix for the 3DS, and it's still in the shrink wrap too.
God, it feels so wrong. because I'm not that, we're not those kind of gamers. That it just feels so weird having like.
Sometimes you just gotta buy it because like you're gonna play it at some point. I mean, I have used games I've bought because they're really cheap and I've never put them in.
Oh yeah.
Technically they're still sealed in a sense. And I still mean to play them. But when you see something you really want, you're gonna play it. If it comes with a bonus, you might as well go ahead and invest in it. And if games are cheap enough and you're going to play them, might as well drop $2 and then you get bored one day and you got something cool to pop in. At least it's always there. You have a new experience waiting for you at your beck and call.
Well, like you and I have always said this, and this is something that you and I really agree on, that if you have the money and you see the game, just go ahead and get it. And the reason why I say that is because, and this is not based off a video game, this is actually based off Amiibos. I went to Toys R Us yesterday, and I actually went to Toys R Us because I was looking for the big, tall Link figure they have now. They had it at a toy store in the mall, but they were charging $50 for it, but I heard Toys R Us was charging $30 for it. So I was like, I'm going to go in there and see if I can find it. Not that I have any room to put them, but I just wanted them. So I went in there, and of course I walked in the Amiibo section, so I always check it out just to see if they have some random Amiibo they reprinted or something. And they had the Mii Amiibos, the 3 Amiibos based off the Mii characters from Melee. And I saw them there, and I'll admit those were Amiibos that I wasn't really like, oh my god, I have to get these. But I saw them there and I had the money. I went ahead and bought them. And the reason why is because, I just don't want to look back and be like, oh my god, I saw like 4 or 5 boxes of them there, and now they're going on eBay for like $200, $300. I mean, you never know.
It's just missing out. I can give you a complete non-game scenario. I was in Goodwill. This was probably over 10 years ago. I see a clock. It's a Charlotte's Web clock. Just a plastic one with the characters in the middle. I think Charlotte was on the hand that ticked. And I left it sitting there for a moment. I was just like, I'm going to think about it for a second. It was like $5. I walked back over. Some lady's picking it up. And she got it. And I was talking to her in line. I was like, oh yeah, I was looking at that a minute ago. I tried to drop the guilt trip, a little bit. And that lady weren't having it. I think she said that was her name. Her name was Charlotte. She was buying that clock. And
it's got my name on it.
Yeah, that's mine. If anything, if you see something you're thinking about, just at least pick it up, hold it in your hand, walk around the store with it for a while too. And that'd be a good way to think. And then that way, at least you've had it in your hands. And if you put it back down, it's your fault, But it's just best to go ahead and seize the moment.
Oh yeah, there's so many gaming opportunities. I've seen retro games at a store. I've been like, "Ooh, I really want this," and I'd had the money, but like, I just don't feel like buying it. And then like months later, I'm like, "Fuck, I really wish I would have bought that." It's so funny.
It is, and all you can hope for is that maybe it'll pop up again. But lots of times it won't.
Yeah.
You never know when something's going to become rare, possibly get discontinued. It can just really happen. And as far as like, those with the Link figure, $20 is definitely worth taking a look at another store and trying to find a deal. $5 is like, go ahead and get it. But 20,
yeah.
And especially with those kind of figures, I don't know if that's like a World Nintendo one, but
oh yeah. Yeah.
Those, man, I really love the ones I got. And to me, just those in general are kind of hard to come by. That pop up. Like the only ones I've really, like I always wanted the large Bowser figure.
Oh yeah, I missed out on that. I saw him and I was like, oh, I'll get him another day.
I've never even seen him. I got the Donkey Kong. I still see Donkey Kong. I don't see Bowser. I haven't seen, the Metroid, and it's rather expensive from what I've seen. When I saw it, I was like, wow, it's like 50. Like, I don't know. They'd have to be staring at me in the face, and it looked really cool for me to decide to get that. But even the smaller ones, like the Link, the Samus, I've seen Fox, lots of cool ones, and then those just do not seem to hang around. Those are like really quite more elusive than the Amiibos because you just don't see as many of them either when they are in the store. Exactly. So those are definitely really cool, and anybody who's listening has thought about those. The World of Nintendo figures are really great and a really cool thing to get. So if you see them, snag them up because they do not hang around long.
They really don't. They have like such a limited press release. But yeah, I mean, the Link figure, I think he's about like 2 or 3 feet tall. I mean, he's huge. He's about the size of my Godzilla. And I saw him at that mall, and he has a lot of detail, and I was like, man, that's really really cool. But I found out Toys R Us was selling them for 30, so I tried to go there, but instead I ended up buying Amiibos. But yeah,
it's just harder. Toys R Us product seems to, because I guess you mentioned there's a lot more kids,
mm-hmm.
and they seem to not stay on the shelves.
And collectors as well. I mean,
definitely.
That's the thing. But yeah, definitely, guys. If you see a game or you see something, and you had that little gut feeling. I think you can agree, James. There's like this little gut feeling you get when you see an item, and you're like, I don't know, maybe I should get it. Follow your dreams.
Listen to your heart.
Yeah, but by all means, we're also not condoning impulse buying either, because I've failed before with that before. Being like, I don't really need this, but I'm going to get it anyway.
Hey man, my father told me one time. He said, you should have fun with life. You see something you want, sometimes you should just go ahead and get it.
Yeah, if you have to eat ramen for a week, it's all right.
Ramen's good.
But what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about a really fun subject. We're going to be talking about consoles that we bought because of a game that we really, really wanted, like a game that made us want to buy that console. And I think this would be a really good discussion. And another one we're going to be talking about as well is games we've been really, really excited about in the past as well. I thought this would be great with the holiday season coming up. We would talk about some anticipated titles that we've always looked forward to, and of course Fallout 4 and stuff like that. But anyway, guys, sit back, relax, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys. That was some music from the wonderful game Ys 3 Oath of Vengana on the PSP. I absolutely love that soundtrack. I never get bored of it. But yeah, we wanted to talk about, with the holiday season coming up, we want to talk about some games that we've been really excited about in the past that made us want to buy a console. And it kind of bleeds into a video I'm going to be uploading very soon that the Xsgaming podcast group page on Facebook has been a part of. I've been doing these group discussion videos where I ask a question and they answer, and I make a video based off of that. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to do like a podcast version of it as well and add some little twist to it. But yeah, James, I want to ask you, what was a game that was coming out for a console that you're like, all right, I gotta buy this console, I gotta play this game?
I mean, for me at the start, just in general, I went with the Nintendo, just to play everything. Like, that really kind of seemed like the only option at the time. I honestly didn't know about the Master System till a little bit later. And Super NES just kind of came with the territory. I could say that the start from one that was actually already out, and I guess I kind of knew that series would be sticking with it, was when it was time for me to bump up past the Super NES. What do I go to? At the time, PlayStation seemed like the only, real choice. I was never a Sega guy until later on in life. I knew about the Saturn, but not a whole lot. I'd played the PlayStation, and the PlayStation had Tekken. And Tekken is still, it can kind of waver, in series, maybe between Street Fighter and Tekken, but I kind of lean towards Tekken lots of times. And it had Tekken. And, that was one that I really wanted to be able to have at home. I loved it in the arcade, and you figure, hey, this, future ones are going to be on here. So I had saved up, 300 something bucks to buy my girlfriend at the time something. Decided she sucked. Spent the money on myself. That was great. That was just that was an outstanding feeling to take that money.
Weren't you going to buy her like a necklace or something?
Yeah, it was, man. Young, dumb, stupid James, who made a smart choice.
You weren't that stupid, because you turned around and got yourself a PlayStation, so you redeemed yourself.
Very true. Smart choices in life, but PlayStation. For me, was the first time I can remember a specific series, that I wanted to play on there. And plus, having played the PlayStation at some friends' houses, like, I knew this was going to be a good investment. So that's really the first one I can kind of remember of that sense.
Yeah, for me, of course, there was always like the Mario games. That was just like, oh man, I want to play the new Mario game, and but for now, like, one of the things that really makes me want to buy consoles, of course, is the Castlevania series. And, I remember I bought the PSP. I had no reason to get a PSP at the time. I was just kind of like, I got my DS. I'm fine with the DS. I didn't really know too much about the PSP. But when they announced the Dracula X Chronicles, and they said it was going to be like a redone version of Rondo of Blood, it was going to have the original Rondo of Blood, and a revamped version of Symphony of the Night, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get this. And that's what really made me go out and get a PSP. And I love the PSP now, but that's what made me do it. And when I got my 3DS, at first, the 3DS came out, and I wanted one, but I wasn't, breaking my back to get one until they announced Castlevania Mirrors of Fate was going to be a 3DS exclusive. And
yeah, that one kind of fell to me too. And I have another friend that got one. He actually ended up selling his 3DS after Mirrors of Fate. And I think we can all say that Mirrors of Fate was probably not really the Castlevania game we bought the 3DS for. But in return, we got, one of our favorite systems. I can speak for both of us. We love that system. So many great games that aren't Castlevania on there. Though Castlevania might have led us to that, there's still so many better reasons to have one.
Yeah, that was definitely what kind of was like the nail in the coffin at that point. On that decision, I was like, man, I got to get a 3DS because, Mikey, our friend Mikey, like he bought a 3DS like when it had just came out. And, other than, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D and maybe like Street Fighter 4 3D edition, there wasn't really anything that was out for the 3DS when it first came out. I was like, oh my God, I have to get it. But, when I got the news that a Castlevania exclusive was going to be on there and it was based off the Lord of Shadows, which I really enjoyed Lord of the Shadows. I was anticipating Lord of the Shadows 2, and they're like, this is going to be like the bridge between the first and second one. And of course, me being a Castlevania fan, it was a no-brainer. I had to get it. And, funny story, I got the 3DS, I got a red one, and right when I got the red one, that's when they announced the 3DS XL. And then my 3DS got stolen, so then I went and bought an XL. But yeah, it was so funny.
It definitely is. Sometimes the launches, I'd heard in reference to the GBA launch, someone said that they thought it was kind of weak. But, I remember getting a GBA on day one and it seems like they had Circle of the Moon. I remember getting that right away. Like they had that one on launch. I don't really, GBA was just, the Castlevania could have led me onto that too. It was just something about, me and a friend of mine both decided we're going to get one, and we had a friend that worked at Toys R Us, and he gave us a call and said, hey, they're up here. And I remember us going out, that day and I got Fire Pro Wrestling. It's a great wrestling series, and Circle of the Moon. And that's, wow. I don't know, for me, like a Castlevania and a wrestling game on launch is really good. But something we had just, it wasn't really any game in particular. We just decided to get a GBA. Maybe it was sometimes the games that come out in the future. And then for me, I'd had a 360. It died. I borrowed my nephew's. It got stolen. I had to get them another 360 and, gave that back. And then it was time for me to get a system. And as I've said before, I went with the PS3 due to the Yakuza series. I don't know if it had quite fully hit me as much as I love it now, but I'd really enjoyed 1 and 2. I'd played through both those, and it was like, hey, I get Yakuza 3 on the PS3. I was like, I've had a 360. And, it was great, but they do have a lot of the same games. I was like, and I can play Yakuza. So that one too, led me onto that system. And kind of like you said, with the Marios on the Nintendo, you just kind of had to have a Nintendo like that.
Yeah.
That was the one to have. Oh, and then again too, another one with wrestling. I had bought WCW Nitro on the PlayStation. It was the most horrible wrestling game I ever played. I took it back, and you could do that at that time. I guess, I don't know if you can do that now. I think they have some version, but I took it back, and the guy was like, I'm just curious, what's wrong with it? And I gave him all my reasons. And I said, give me WCW NWO Revenge. I did not own the 64, but I bought that game with the intentions of, I'm getting a 64. I'd asked my dad, I was like, hey Dad, I get paid next week. Can I borrow the money for 64? And he was like, sure. I had all intentions of paying him back too, but it was a little bit before my birthday, and then he called me and he said, hey, don't worry about paying me back. Happy birthday.
Awesome.
So I got the 64, and that was another one that was definitely bought for that one specific game. And still, another system that I really like, but I played wrestling more than anything. I was pretty much borderline obsessed. I would play hour-long Iron Man matches on very hard. And I would sit there for an hour and get over 100 falls in this match. I had a problem.
That was such a good game, though. I loved WCW and NWO Revenge.
Yeah. Oh, the one actually that I'd sit there and play for an hour was, we'll move up to, was it No Mercy? That was the one that, but still in the same family, but I would sit there for an hour on an Iron Man match. Very hard. And that was just, wow, just still the best wrestling series of games. And one of many reasons to own a 64, but it's at the top of the list for me.
Yeah, I would definitely say N64 wrestling games were were freaking awesome. I mean, I feel like PlayStation wrestling games didn't get fun until you got to the WWF Warzone. That's when it started getting kind of fun. But
That one wasn't very fun, though, in my opinion.
it was, well, I mean, it was a lot better than, the more arcadey ones, like what was it, the WrestleMania,
Oh yeah,
the
WrestleMania
summer,
arcade game and in your house.
yeah, I mean, those were just so hokey, and I did not like Nitro, and I got burnt twice because I did not like Nitro, and I tried to buy Thunder.
Definitely one that's very cheap and still highly worth getting is WCW versus the World on
I was just
PlayStation.
about to say,
That was the Kickstarter. That was the
yeah,
Kickstarter game for those ones on the 64. So we have to give credit to them. And there's also another one based off of a Japanese game. I think it's called Power Move Pro Wrestling or Power
yeah,
Pro Wrestling. It was a budget title, $20 brand new and pretty good. I think it's based on the Token Retsuden series in Japan. It's the New Japan games. And it's okay. But WC versus the World still highly playable. Just another one. I mean, that was some other games on PlayStation. Symphony of the Night. By the time I got a PlayStation, that was a bargain title too. After a while, I remember, the $20 greatest hits version.
yeah. Yeah, when I had to decide between the N64 or the PlayStation, I mean, at first I started off with the Saturn. Like, I really wanted the Sega Saturn because that was like the first like CD-based game I had actually played and like.
See, that one wasn't even like in my, vision. That's cool. I think that's cool
Yeah,
that was the one that you wanted to go to, just because I guess it was just because of me playing PlayStation more and knowing more about it that it was like that was in my sights.
yeah, because I hadn't played the PlayStation yet, and what sold me on the Saturn was I went to a Sears kiosk and I played Mortal Kombat 3, and it was like arcade perfect at that time for me, and I was like, holy shit! I mean, because it had all the same exact sounds from the arcade. I mean, I had it on the Super Nintendo and I enjoyed it on the Super Nintendo, but the Saturn version was just so much better, and so I wanted the Saturn for Mortal Kombat 3. And then it started turning into the N64 because that started coming out, and I really wanted Mario 64 and Mario Kart. But then the PlayStation, a friend of mine that was a little older than me had a PlayStation, and I got to play Street Fighter Alpha, I got to play Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid was just coming out, and of course WWF Warzone. All these titles were coming out. Battle Arena Toshinden. I was like, oh my god, this is freaking awesome. And of course, the RPGs as well, Final Fantasy and Mega Man games, and Symphony of the Night. That's what just, that, all that was just like, alright, I gotta get a PlayStation. And I was so happy with my PlayStation. I didn't get an N64 until like years later that I finally got an N64. And
It really was like the Nintendo. This PlayStation
yeah,
was the one to have, at that time. It had everything.
yeah. And that's the thing. You get those systems that come out that's just like, that's what you need to have. And, judging from the last generation, I think a lot of people wanted to get the PS3 because of the fame of the PS2. But, the 360 really upped the ante at that point, and 360 had a lot of great games, and that's what I got first was the 360. But then, like, at some point, PS3 started having these exclusives that I was like, man, I really want to get a PS3 now. And one of those games, of course, was Ni no Kuni. And that came out, I believe, 2011, 2012-ish. And it was the Studio Ghibli Level 5 game. And, I love Level 5. Dark Cloud, Rogue Galaxy, games like that, and of course the Studio Ghibli, people behind like My Neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke. To hear that they were joining forces to make a video game, an RPG, really made me excited. Did it live up to the hype? Not really. I felt like the game wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but it was the game that made me turn around and buy a PS3. Definitely, and I'm glad I got a PS3. There's a lot of great games on it that I would have missed out on.
Yeah, that's the good thing I think with this generation. It is a lot more open as far as a lot of the same games are on the system. So you can get away with having either. I think that, they're at the point where a lot of people have both because they did get more and more affordable. But it also has those options where each one has its own exclusives that, might just set you off for owning both. I know I own both at this point, and, it's very cool still when I see some games. I don't know if it's still for sure, but like the the Rise of the Tomb Raider, the last I saw, it was still going to have a 360 release.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be released on 360, but they also said that it was no longer, it's going to be a time exclusive. Like, it's supposed to be coming out for PS4 next year.
Yeah, I think it's the last I read on that one too. I think it's going to be about exactly a year. I think it's still supposed to be around holiday season of next year, which a year is. I mean, some people can wait, but that's a long time too.
Yeah, especially if you're
kind of cool.
Yeah, especially if you're like a Tomb Raider diehard. I mean, I know if it was me with Castlevania, and they were like, yeah, this Castlevania game's going to be only for the Xbox One. It's going to be released for the PS4 next year. I'd be like, I'm just going to go ahead and get an Xbox One. Just, I can't wait a year. I want to go ahead and play it.
So, I wonder how, like in the past, when you mentioned Mortal Kombat, of how much that boosted the Genesis sales. Because, you really just, if you had a Super NES, you knew they had blood on the Genesis. And Sega, to me at that time, up through PlayStation, was always, inferior to me because I didn't really know about it. That was just I didn't really diss it, oh, you got a Sega, that sucks. I thought it was cool when people had a Sega because I got to play it.
Yeah, same
and
here.
I usually didn't, but that Mortal Kombat, that was the thing that I imagine, would draw a lot of people because you wanted that damn blood. The Super NES one still made no sense because you could burn people to death. That's okay, but you can't have blood and beheadings. And it was still a fun game, and I still think it played better than the Genesis one. But at that time, you wanted that blood, man. You wanted that arcade experience.
Yeah, see, that's the thing too. I think if they had blood on Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo, it would have been like borderline arcade perfect. Because, I mean, the sprites were the right size. I know, like, on the Sega version, they were, like, a little stretched out. And the color palette just was a lot more inferior on the Sega Genesis version. The color palette on the Super Nintendo was a lot better.
And buttons. They didn't have enough damn buttons.
Yeah, unless you had a 6-button controller, you were out of luck. And that goes with Street Fighter as well. I mean, I hated in Street Fighter you had to press start to change from, like, punching to kicks. That was horrible. That was a really bad idea.
Yeah, it was good that those did pave the way for the 6-button controller. But, the Super NES was still, that Mortal Kombat was still fun, man. It was still really cool. I remember some great glitches in it that happened too. And, you just had to do without the blood.
Yeah. And until Mortal Kombat 2 came out. I remember Mortal Kombat 2 came out for the Super Nintendo. I'm like, fuck yes. I saw so much blood. I was like, it's like red construction paper everywhere.
That's a game, thinking of anticipating games.
Oh, yeah.
I fully remember KB Toys, and this was still at the time where we didn't really know release dates. They didn't necessarily have pre-orders. You just had to call every day.
Yeah.
Until it came out. Like, you knew when it might be coming around, and I happened to call. I can't remember if I think I did. I called, and it came in. The Super NES version came in early. The Genesis didn't come out till a day or two later.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if it was just at the store. I don't know if it happened everywhere, but, I went. Dad took me there, like, after school. That was the thing. Go get that game. And I remember it was, the Mortal Kombat, for some reason, it clicks in my head that it might have been like $5 cheaper, where usually they were like $69.99, and it might have been $64.99. But still, those games were $70, and they were so worth it too, But you'd sit there and you just have to call, and you'd wait. Street Fighter 2, that was another huge title, anticipating, waiting, calling every day. Did you ever have to do that? Call stores every day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've done that before. I did that before with Blockbuster because I knew I couldn't afford the game. So I wanted to be, I wanted to rent it like day one. And because there was some games I just knew that they would be rented like the moment they
Oh
touched
yeah.
the shelves. I was like, so I'd always call, and I remember at one point Blockbuster had a reserve program for renting video games and movies. You know, I remember they finally started doing that because I remember I reserved a Mortal Kombat rental for the movie, the first movie when it came out, because I didn't get to go see it in theaters. So I reserved it. So they actually called me and they're like, "Hey, we got the movie here." So I went there and rented it. And it, man, yeah, there was so much hype. There was so much hype back then.
That was good. They had that program. I mean, that anticipation goes into, like you said, the rentals and knowing when a game was there and just hoping, it's like you couldn't go to the video store till mom got off work. And I was like 5, maybe, it's like you didn't get to go. Sometimes you could go before dinner. You might could get there about 6. Sometimes it'd be 7. And you just hope that game was in because lots of times back then at my stores, they didn't really get, like the most they might have, and it'd have to be like a Mario or a really, really big title for them to have 3 copies. Other than that, most games, it was 1 copy. And if it was gone, it's like I had to settle for that second one. But I just remember trying to rush to get there, just, looking, you check behind other boxes just to make sure someone didn't hide it or it got put in the wrong place.
And another thing, too, that I really loved about being the first person to rent a video game from Blockbuster is you actually got to see the manual.
Oh, yeah.
Because the early rentals, when they first dropped on the shelves, at one point they actually had the manual, so you could actually look at those as well. And I mean, that was to me, that was the thing. I would want to play the game, and while I'm opening up the game, I would look in the manual, or maybe I would open up the game on my way home and read the manual until I got home to go play it. Yeah, I would do that all the time, and that was really cool. And then, after a while, either they would throw the manuals away, or someone would end up keeping them. But every once in a while, you would still rent that game that had a manual, and you could look back in the notes section and see where people have been writing codes or being like, "Be careful of this guy, he's an asshole."
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I never kept a manual on purpose.
Me
know
neither.
A lot of people just did. I did by accident a time or two. Probably about the worst thing we ever did was my one friend with the 64. We'd have to go rent wrestling and rent an extra controller. And every weekend, we could have just bought one, but no, we'd go rent one. And he would change out the colors. He'd have the gray one and be like, I think I want a green one. Trade it out when we rent and get the green one. Just switch out those. Which, I mean, they still got their controller back. Nobody really cared about the color.
Now, the controllers, did they come in those? Did they come in a weird suitcase as well as like the consoles did, or were they just you just grab the controller and put it in a bag and walk out?
I think they just kept them behind the counter,
Huh.
and or they might have had them on the shelf, maybe in a bag. But I just remember just getting the controller, with the game in a bag. They didn't have any kind of odd contraption that I can think of. You might have just had to ask, but do you have any extra controllers? And they pretty much always had one anytime we went.
Yeah, because I remember, you could rent consoles back in the day, and they would come in those big black suitcases. Look like you were walking out like a Secret Serviceman with your N64 or something,
Yeah, I never rented a console.
Me neither. It was too expensive.
The best option we had was Putt-Putt, where you could pay a couple dollars for an hour, and they had a TurboGrafx, a Genesis, Super NES, and they might have still had a Nintendo set up too, but they had six TVs that were kind of back to back on a table, and then they had 6 systems out, and you could go there and you could either, if you wanted to rent a game, you could take the rental game because they rented them out too. You could try it out to see if you wanted to rent it. Usually we rent games to see if we wanted to buy them, but you could pay, pretty cheap just for a little bit. You might even been able to sample it for free. You could see if you actually wanted to spend the money to rent it. So, I mean, Putt-Putt at that time for me it was a huge part of my life, as far as gaming too, with the arcade games they had and the availability to play, any of these 4 systems and rent for them too. They really had a really cool setup there.
Nice. Well, before we go into games we've been playing recently, I want to ask you, James, as of now, what's one game that you're really anticipating for 2016?
Let's see, 2016. That one. Let's see. I wrote a couple games that were coming out. Well, here's one I'm gonna bring up that I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's a Suda51 game called Let It Die.
Huh.
And
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I was trying to watch the trailer on it, but the trailer kept crashing out. But it mentioned it has rusty blades and lots of blood. And I think that one might be PS4 only. But another really cool sounding game is called Quantum Break.
Oh, yeah.
That one's going to be Xbox One only. And it's made by the developers of Alan Wake and Max Payne 3. And it kind of encompasses going back in time and something goes wrong. And all I know is, Alan Wake was pretty amazing. And we see a lot of things with, adventure games. And there was one called Firewatch that's a first-person adventure game. And, it's decision-based, which we see in a lot of these games. It's really cool. But apparently, it can affect the ending of the game. A lot, you're still going to end up in the same place no matter what. But this one makes it seem as if, different decisions can lead up to have multiple endings, which I think a lot of those games are great, but sometimes the replay value is not as high because you're pretty much going to have the same ending. But if they could change that up and, different mid parts of the game, I think that could, really boost the replay value on it. And that one, the Firewatch, I think that one might be a PS4 one also. I kind of looked more into the PlayStation games just because I know that's the system I'm going to be getting next.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only game that I'm looking forward to for 2016, like towards the end, that I'm really anticipating is Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm really looking forward to that because I like RPGs. I like big mechs, and I tried to get into Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. I never did finish it, but it was still a really fun game. But I'm looking forward to this because this has been a game that's been under my radar before I even had a Wii U. It's been I feel like 2 years I've been talking about this game, and I was like, I'm ready to play it. Definitely ready to play it. But
are you interested in the Last Guardian at all? I know that one's pretty highly, supposed to come out back on PS3 and got bumped back from the creators of Eco and Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, I'm really anticipating that. I know the Bloodborne DLC is coming out soon. I'm definitely going to get that. And Dark Souls 3, I do want to play that. But there's so many great games coming. I know 2016. You got Street Fighter 5 that's coming that I'm really looking forward to. There's so much great stuff.
You got to do Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. It's going to be a mixture of Paper Mario and the Mario and Luigi series on 3DS. Another game I thought was really cool was Dishonored. I played a bit of the first one, and that one's going to have a sequel coming out.
Oh, wow.
Mirror's Edge. That's another one I remember seeing. I always kind of wanted to go back and play that one a bit more. But they got a sequel to that one coming out. Just some Zelda. Are we going to get Zelda? That's a big question, too.
That's still up in the water, man. Jeez, but
you can't really highly anticipate that one because it's still kind of got a to be determined. We just don't know. It'd be nice to have a little bit of more information on that game.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, there's supposed to be a rumor of another Nintendo Direct happening very soon, so maybe they'll talk about that. They need to because with the whole Nintendo NX rumors that are floating around, there's more rumors than facts, of course, but it's getting a lot of people, nervous because they're like, well, shit, this is probably going to be a launch title for the NX, and we might get a gimped version on the Wii U or whatever it is. So I'm hoping, if anything, it's the last Wii U title or something like that,
Yeah, I really hope it comes out to the Wii U. I think that would be one of the I enjoyed the Wii U. I love having it. I think though if that Zelda doesn't come out on it, that is going to be one of, the, if not the biggest disappointment with that system, is if that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, because I mean, we never had a true dedicated Zelda game on the Wii U. I mean, we had Hyrule Warriors, but that was a spin-off. We
Yeah.
had, Wind Waker, but that was an HD remaster. We haven't had like one standalone Zelda game on the Wii U yet. And I really, as much as, it'd be nice for the NX to have, a Zelda launch title, let's have a dedicated Zelda game for the Wii U. Now, another rumor as well they've talked about with the Wii U with Zelda, of course, is the Twilight Princess HD remaster, and that's cool and everything. But like I said, I want a dedicated Zelda game for the Wii U. Like being like, oh, I have to get the Zelda game that's on the Wii U. You know what I'm saying?
It could breathe, some more, especially too if like the earlier, I want them to do it right, but the earlier it comes out, that's more time that they have with the Wii U, because I think that game could breathe some more new life into it. There's not too many more games coming. I think they're gonna make people want to buy one,
Yeah.
but that is one that definitely could, because people love Zelda, and that's a system that will sell. A game that will sell a system, and it's one that you kind of expect. We've had new Mario games on it, but where's the new Zelda? We didn't have a Zelda, or a Metroid. And Metroid, you don't expect that one quite as much. But the Zelda one's really, you just need one on that system.
Definitely.
And this is supposed to be a, great, first open world. You keep hearing about it, and then it goes away. Then you hear about it, then it goes away.
Yeah.
And it's kind of stayed in that go away position. So maybe that new direct, they'll talk about that some, and we can get, like I said, just a little bit more information on that title.
Definitely. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our last little segment of the show and talk about games we've been playing recently. And I want to start off with you, James, because I had a couple of games I've played recently. But what games have you been playing recently?
Well, I've still been playing the WWE 2K16. And been enjoying that. They've got kind of like the showcase or story mode this year is Stone Cold Steve Austin's career. Now before, in some of the old, like the last one, they had 2 showcase modes. Then you could download 3 more. And I'm really hoping they have some more for download. Because I mean, I love the Austin story mode. And one of the really cool things is it goes back and gives you bonus matches from when he was stunning Steve Austin in WCW versus Ricky Steamboat, or as superstar Steve Austin in ECW fighting against Mikey Whipwreck. I love how they throw in the old bonuses. You can get so many versions of Steve Austin. It's pretty ridiculous. But I still would like to see another mode or two, which I hope they put on, because before you could switch back and forth, play as different people in the matches, and this one you're just Austin the whole time. And the different versions do have different moves, which I think is really cool. But another reason that I see, to bump up to the PS4 is the PS4 version has the career mode, which you start off, from the bottom in development, NXT, you move on up. You can pick what titles you want to go after. You can attack people on the way to the ring.
Oh, wow.
And I don't get to play that. It was the same thing with last year's. They didn't have the career mode, which I heard the career mode wasn't as good on the last version, but this one sounds pretty cool. And I don't get to play it, so maybe by the time the next one comes out, I will have a PS4. And then I also just downloaded the demo, and I didn't play it yet, for Fatal Frame 5 on the Wii U.
Oh, nice.
And they have it's a two levels of the game. And I will tell anybody, if you've not downloaded this yet, it is huge. Okay, I have the bigger version of the Wii U. I don't even have that much stuff on it. And I had to erase or, drop off quite a few things to get this demo, which I imagine the demo is pretty much the whole game, to actually fit on my system. I took off, Hulu and Amazon and Netflix, because I don't really use those on there. I do use them on the PS3, so I took off quite a few things, and I won't be able to fit anything else on there. So if you're going to play this game, you probably are going to need an external hard drive. I kind of really wish they'd put a little bit more memory on there, as much as all these systems in general keep going towards digital games. We need room. You're kind of
Yeah.
making us buy external HD just to play these games, and you're not giving us a price cut on these games that we got to buy more crap to play them. That's kind of my complaint on that. But I'm going to try that out later today. Looking forward to that. I'm just, it's download, but I'm glad we got it. Picked up a few Game Boy games recently, and I bought 2 wrestling ones. One of them, which was the second time of me buying because my first copy didn't work, and this copy doesn't work. 3 of the games I bought, I cannot get to work, which is really kind of rare. I buy a lot of Game Boy games, and there's only a few that I've had trouble with, but I've cleaned them and everything, and aside from opening them up, I'm probably just going to take them back and get my $11. But I didn't get to try those, but I did pick up Beavis and Butthead on the Game Boy.
Oh, nice.
This
I
was
never played a Game Boy version.
This was a little bit pricier for Game Boy games that I usually buy. It was $10. I had been known to spend more depending on the game, but $10 was kind of a high one. But I was like, as Beavis and Butthead, $10. Like, I'm going to get it. Thankfully, this one worked, and I really think it's a great game. Man, I sat there for a bit, went through about up to the 4th level. I like it better. While it's not as colorful and, graphic-wise good as the Super NES and Genesis one, I think this one's been the most fun and less frustrating. It's kind of an overhead view, and you start off in the classroom. You still have to go around and fetch different items as far as progression. You got to do a little bit of backtracking, but has characters from the show. Mr. Van Driesen will pop up, Coach Buzzcut, the fat kid in the class. They're just, a lot of the characters and will pop up with a little animation, and you'll see the screen, with kind of like a little cutscene for a Game Boy. But just, I really had a lot of fun. That game really impressed me. I was more pleased that the fact I really liked the game that I spent $10 on it, because like I said, that is kind of high for a lot of Game Boy games, but this is one I think was worth it. It's definitely, if you enjoyed the console versions at all and you just like Beavis and Butthead, it's definitely worth playing. I got my brother playing it. I told him about it, and he actually ended up having it. And I was trying to tell him how to get through it, because I can't get out of detention. So you can talk to the fat kid. It's like, he told me to go away. So you got to talk to him again. I mastered the game. And then by the time you get to the 4th level, it switches to a complete 2D side scroller going through the sewers. So I like the fact that it changes up, because the enemies are kind of repetitive. At least the stages are different. You do have, like I said, the different characters, like the teachers and such, that pop up. And the crazy old guy from the Halloween episode that lived out on the farm that was going to kill him, he popped up on there. I don't know, man, this is the most fun I think I've had with a Game Boy game in a while. And that one really impressed me. And I also bought a copy. I used to own this game called Way of the Samurai.
Oh, yeah?
Just a really cool game. It's put out by BAM and I think Spike or Atlas. One of those companies put it out. You kind of get to pick your way of how you want to go. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Yakuza in an early way. It has a story. It can be kind of crazy. You have the black guy with the afro that just pops up in the middle of samurai era Japan. You have some goofy quests, but you get to get new swords, upgrade them, go along the way. Like I said, it has multiple endings and different paths you can take depending on, answers you choose and different ways you go. It does have blood. You can kill somebody and piss a lot of people off, and that can affect your game. But 1 and 2 were really good games. I still love those. 2 of my favorite PlayStation games. Part 3 is download only on the PlayStation Store, and it was it was just a really big letdown. It didn't have that fun feeling. Something was missing that the old ones had. And I know they have Way of the Samurai 4, which I've heard described as completely insane. So I still want to play that one too. And it's a download only. And at some point when I get more hard drive space for my PS3, I will check it out. But if you dig samurai stuff and just a little bit of goofiness, the way the samurais are hard to beat. They were kind of a successor to me to Soul of the Samurai on the PlayStation 1, which was kind of like the samurai version of Tenchu. I did like it because, like, Way of the Samurai, you have the different swords, and that they could break if you don't get them fixed, or, you need to upgrade. But just very good series of games. Like I said, 1 and 2, I still highly recommend. They're worth checking out. They're usually pretty cheap. And that's about the extent, I think, of what I've played. Had a few cool ones in there. And I've been playing a little bit of Batman Origins because I've still been watching the show Gotham, which I'm still loving. And I've been listening to some Batman radio dramas.
Oh, wow.
They kind of follow, they come with a comic. It's a motion comic. So you get pages from the comic book, and you can either listen to it or you can listen and watch. And I recently listened to The Killing Joke, and I'm going through The Death of the Family right now, which is like 2 hours. It's just been really cool. And here's another one. I'm going to finish on this that I found. I found a Castlevania radio drama.
Oh, shit.
Which is in Japanese. And when I told my wife this, she looked at me really confused. Like, why are you listening to... I was like, no, it's subtitled. It's subtitled. It has some pictures from the games. And this is called something Recollection, Moonlight Recollection. It's a sequel to Symphony of the Night.
Ooh.
And like I said, you do have to read it because it's in Japanese, but Japan, they seem to be kind of digging on the radio dramas. I'm a huge fan of the ones from the 40s and 50s, Suspense, Escape, Inner Sanctum. I love those, Gunsmoke, but it's nice to see they're still doing more modern ones. Like I said, the Batman in Japan, I've heard they've done Yakuza ones too, but the Castlevania one, I thought you would definitely want to check this out. It's about 10 or 12 chapters. I'm on chapter 5. It's just cool, man. You sit there and you can hear the people, they're speaking in Japanese. Alucada, Dakula. You hear those words once in a while, but you just kind of read along the story. And so far, it's Maria and Alucard living together, and Richter's still hanging around, and something evil's going on, and it's been really cool so far. So I definitely recommend that to you and everyone else, and that's about it for me.
Nice. Well, games I've been playing recently, I've been playing a lot of arcade games, actually. Recently last night I filmed a Let's Play of Toki on the arcade. I love that game, and I found a really interesting game that was Japan only, and it was made by Namco, and it was called Shadowland. And it's a game that's based off this like little kid that goes through like this Japanese style hell, and he's trying to get back to the living world. And so you fight all these like mythological Japanese style like yokai demons and
Is
stuff
it like a beat 'em up?
No, it's more of a platformer, but it's really tough. And I was going to do a Let's Play of that, but I cannot beat the first boss. I've been having so much trouble battling like the first like gatekeeper. It's like this big like satanic looking dude, and it's badass. I'm like, man, this is a really good game. So I've been playing that. Let's see, I've been playing. I actually played the first episode to the Minecraft story. And I am by far not a Minecraft fan. Like I never could get into Minecraft. There was something there I couldn't get into it. But the story is actually really, really good. And of course, it's made by Telltale. So it plays in that style of making decisions and the point and click kind of thing that we love about those games. And
is this part of the actual Minecraft game, or is it like a separate game?
It's like a separate thing. It's like if Minecraft, because I don't think Minecraft itself has a story, but this is like if Minecraft had a story, this is what it would be, and it takes place in like the Minecraft universe and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And let's see, what else have I played? Because I played that. I played Minecraft, some arcades. I played Pulirulai is another arcade game I played. I did a Let's Play of that, and it was a very interesting, like cutie beat 'em up game that was It was also on the Saturn, but it was never in the States.
Oh yeah, it's very weird too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off, very lighthearted, and you're like, oh, all the guys you're fighting look all cutesy, like little robots and stuff, and then all of a sudden there's like a freaking dude's ass out of nowhere, and then you're like, it's just like all this weird stuff starts happening, but it was a good game, so I've been playing that, and I got the Chibi Robo Zap Lash. I'm gonna be playing that probably later on today. I got the Fatal Frame demo downloaded. I still haven't played it yet. I want to play it, but I'm in the same boat as you, man. I don't have a whole lot of memory on my Wii U, and that's the reason why I haven't bought the game. And I've been really wanting to buy it, but I did.
I think if you can, like I said, I think if you get the demo on there, I don't think it takes up any more room. I think the demo is pretty much the game. So if you've got that on there and are able to have the dedicated space for that, and not need anything in the near future and have to delete anything else, I think you'd be good on room.
Oh, cool. I did actually watch the Fatal Frame movie, and the Japanese movie. I watched that this week as well. It was a very, very interesting horror movie. It was very, I think it had a lot of Japanese symbolism that maybe didn't really translate too well for an American audience, but it was still a really, really good movie. I'd highly recommend it. I'd found it on, some streaming sites and shit.
That's cool, yeah. Also, too, like another one I've watched before, Sweet Home. I found that one on YouTube. I'd recommend that one, too. Definitely, I've played a little bit of the game, but watching the movie was pretty interesting.
Nice. But yeah, guys, this is going to conclude another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. Again, guys, if you are listening to this on Podomatic or on YouTube, be sure to check us out as well on iTunes. Be sure to rate the show. It really helps, helps spread the word and gets more people listening, and it all around makes it a better show because it really helps the show out. And of course, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/XanderScullion, for more gaming stuff, from Let's Plays to reviews. I actually just uploaded a review for Yoshi's Woolly World last night, and I got some more videos coming out very soon as well. And as always, guys, thank you for listening, and as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everybody.
Can't get enough of Xsgaming Podcast? Be sure to check out the audio podcast on Podomatic.com, or you can also subscribe to us on iTunes. Also, if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you like to share, be sure to check out the Xsgaming Podcast Facebook group page and join our community. All the links are below, and as always, guys, thank you so much for all your support.